Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Hopefully you can hear me. I'm going to be drifting in and out of the microphone, so if I'm ever too quiet, just kind of wave at me or go like this. Welcome. This is the Smörgåsbord session, and what a perfect session for almost the last session, because I'm going to blast you continuously for 60 minutes with all these different ideas, all these different demo files. This session really isn't about anything. It's about going up to the buffet and finding something maybe you like, maybe something you forgot about that FileMaker does. There might be unpopular stuff in this session that maybe you don't agree with, and that's okay. So we can talk about it. Later. Probably not time here. So the goal is just basically to have a fast-paced session where I show you a lot of things. I have more things than I can possibly show you, so I'll kind of pick and choose as we go along. And then I want to make sure that everybody can take away everything. Are there people here that are not developers? Anybody? Good. So even for non-developers or beginner developers or advanced developers, I want to make sure that everybody has something today that they can maybe write down in a notebook and check that out later. So this is done with the help of a lot of people in the community and quite a few people here as well. So thank everybody for helping me out have this session. So about me, I'm Mike Beargie. If you're French, it's Mike Beargie. If it's German, it's Mike Beargie. That's also acceptable, but in the States, just Beargie. I've been doing FileMaker for 15 years now, 10 years at Mainspring, a platinum partner in the States. Currently, I'm the technical lead there, which means half of my work is development and the other half is coming up with new ideas and teaching all the other people what to do and kind of deciding what we do as a company, what vertical markets we want to do, all that good stuff. But then about you. I kind of already said all this, so all I ask of you is that you're open to ideas. So for what I present, it may be something that's not new to you. Everything may not be new to you today, but keep an open mind, maybe get inspired, maybe remember that FileMaker does these things. So all I want is for you to keep that open mind. So here's the big thing. You're going to want to scan this. This is all the session materials. It's done in the form of a GitHub repository because all of the notes are written in Markdown. So when you go to this page in your browser, it will format it very nicely so you can read along. I'm actually reading my notes the same way. So this will be available afterwards. And if you want to engage with me afterwards, it's a great thing. Feel free to make a pull request. If you disagree with something, change it and say this way is better. Make a pull request in GitHub and I'll say, okay, it's good. Or report an issue if something doesn't work or if you're having trouble. But yeah, this is my personal GitHub, not my work one. So I'm free to engage as much as possible. All right. Everybody get that? Yes? Good. All right. Before we move on, has anybody here only started using FileMaker in version 2023? Okay. Let's try the other end. Has anybody here been using FileMaker since version 2? Oh, that's too many people. All right. I'm trying to find one person in the crowd. Let's see. Okay, who traveled the shortest? Who walked here from home? Well, now we're down to 3. Who is not a conference sponsor but also walked here? All right, this gentleman right here. So you get a very limited edition Claris branded water bottle. It's also a smart water bottle. I have no idea. Measuring operation or a smart beer bottle? You can put whatever liquid you want in it, just not aquavit. Oh. So, all right. So let's get moving right along. Oh, so the other thing is I don't really like slides. The slides PDF is in the session material, but I'm not going to spend really any time on slides. I'm going to be, I'm sharing my screen with you right here, so you're seeing everything that I have. So we're going to jump right in with layout tips and tricks. So let's see, tips are scratch file. All right. So the first tip we're going into here, developer mode notes. This one's easy. Obviously nothing's there right now, but when you go into layout mode, there are developer notes. So any object that you want to use as a note or as a developer tool to help you in your layout, all you have to do is, show and hide objects and just set that to 1 or hide it over here. We'll go over that later. But yeah, just set that to 1 or true. That's a developer mode note for you. See. So next one here, calculations on layouts. This one just came out, so people are already coming up with very creative ways to use this. I am now using this for a funny function that not a lot of people use called field comment, and the field comment function just basically says for your field here, there's comment down in here. So you can put in instructions like how to use the field. In web development, you might call this a hint or something. But with this function right here, that will now load that comment there for me, and then you can style it like any other text object. So it's very easy to pull in dynamic content like that. The object inspector on the left, not the object inspector over here, but this one. How many people were super excited when they added this whole object inspector? I was very excited. So you can use this to hide objects. It's simply just will hide entire objects from the layout for you. You can use it to change the stack order. So when you select an object, you can click and drag that and say, I want that in the front. And now it will pull those things and change those stack orders. Or if you want to, again, hide some stuff in there, you can do that. And then you can do direct object name changes in here. So you click on this, and this is, sorry if that's hard to read. It's even harder for me here. The resolution's very messed up. All right. So those are some tips there. The layout alignment tools, a lot of people now are doing web development where you're doing like 12-column development, like FlexGrid development. So using a grid in FileMaker to line things up is also very important. So over here in the position inspector down here at the bottom, you can set your grid squares to be something. I usually use multiples of 64, 128, whatever. So you can set the, oh no, it's cut off. Oh no. Here, let me resize the window. Tell me when it's finally there. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. See, I'm not afraid of doing live demos. I like the challenge of it. So yeah, that's maybe too many. 256, and then you can specify how many subdivisions you want in it. So this is at 1. It's at 4 right now. So each one of those is 64. So it breaks things up in your grid nicely so you can resize it. You can have custom snap lines. So you see snap lines now here for the desktop. Those yellow lines, they're coming and going here. And this shows you. But you can also have a custom size. Like I might want a custom size like 1024, 1024 for like desktop square. And now I can have those guides in there. And then for snap lines, which are not the grids that you snap to, but separate lines, you just click in here and drag those out. And you can come up with vertical lines, or you can come up with horizontal lines. And now as you go through these different things, you can line up all those things very nicely to those guidelines. And I did screen size guides there. All right, merge tag compacting. This is very useful if you have a very small space. This is an older tip and trick, but basically all FileMaker cares about are the outer 2 brackets, and you can do whatever you want to the inside brackets. So if you have a very long field name or something, you can highlight this much, and you can change it to be like 6 point. And now this merge tag takes up a lot less space than what it used to. And it works with the new calculation function as well. Same thing. So you can make that very small as well, and it will still work and draw everything that it did before. All right. Okay. We will do schema tips next. Hmm?
There's a question.
Oh, okay.
You can even include the ending bracket as well.
Yeah,
All you need is the starting one.
yeah, but I think that wasn't true before. It might be true now, but I always, as a good habit, do, because when you're minifying that much, you also want to know where it's ending, so it's easier to see if you have it that way.
Actually, good. In the calculations, you can even make it smaller than the size.
Yeah. You can make it almost invisible. Another trick people used to do is they used to make the font size so big that it doesn't show up on the layout anymore. So if you make the font size like 900 point or something, which FileMaker will let you do, then it won't show on the screen, but the object will still be there on the screen. So that was a way some people were doing hacks for I think card windows actually. Before card windows existed, they would take a popover and make it larger than the screen so that when it opened up, it looked like a card window. Well, we're not going to make it to the end with this many questions.
Also, to reduce the text, you can do it with the inspector.
Yes, you can reduce the text size. Yeah, so it doesn't matter if you use the top text formatting toolbar in the inspector, it's the same way. Any way you can change the font size is good. All right, this is actually one I just learned about last week before I came to this conference, but if you mouse over, there's a little arrow here. Let's see if it pops up. There we go. So I did not know this little popover menu existed until like last week. So even as a 15-year developer. But this gives you a little bit of information, like if it's coming from an external file, tells you what external data source it comes from. For Claris Studio tables, it tells you it's a Claris Studio table, that type of thing. So super useful there. I didn't know if you knew this, but you can move objects around with shortcut keys. Which one is it? And is it not going to work because I'm in this mode? Okay, we're going to skip that one. Alt, yeah, there's no Alt key on a Mac. It's Option. Option, Shift, Control, Option, yeah. Nope, doesn't work. Probably because I'm plugged into the screen. But yeah, that one. Trust me, you can move the objects around using keys instead of dragging and dropping. And also, as I told you before, that function, that field comment function can be used another couple different ways, but just as a review there, using field comments, that's a useful thing for the schema. All right, let's do, next is going to be calculation tips. Let's move there. Am I going too fast? We're already almost a quarter of the way through, and I'm only like 5% done. So there's a lot of stuff. All right, so for calculation tips, this is something interesting about how FileMaker works, and a truthy function will sometimes, in certain situations, be faster than what's a verbose function. And a truthy function is just something that returns true or false, and a verbose calculation has to go through and like basically evaluate everything. So position, as an example, is a truthy function because it basically goes through and finds the first occurrence of starting from the first character, and when it finds that occurrence, it stops and it says true. I have found this character, it's located here. Pattern count can also kind of be truthy, right? Because pattern count, if you pattern count this right here, it'll give you 4. I have pattern count 4. But the problem with pattern count is for pattern count to work, it has to evaluate all of your text. So if you have a text field with like 64,000 characters, if you use position to find like the first period, it will stop only after evaluating that much of the field instead of evaluating the whole field. So when you're using that in a loop thousands of times or something to evaluate, suddenly the top one has better performance than the bottom ones do. Oh, and this one has better performance than this one because not only is this truthy, but if you do this, then you have 2 truths because now you're adding greater than 0, but it's the same result if you use it in an if statement because it's 0 or greater than 0, technically. All right. This one I get a lot of feedback like, Mike, why do you say this? But I tell developers, don't use the if function anymore, just use case. Nobody is getting up and Nobody's getting up with fists and fighting me out. No. It's an anti-design pattern. So if you have an if statement, like in the script editor, you expect to have an else if statement. But you don't have that because that's the case statement. And they're not backwards compatible. So you can turn a case statement into an if statement because you just do one statement. But you can't turn an if statement into a case statement. So if you're going to have to change it anyways, then then you're going to go there. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Can I at least get to the end of the calculation tips and I'll take questions? All right. Calculation commenting, one line versus many lines. So most of you probably know how to do this already, but if you're writing a calculation, like here in the data viewer, one line comment is this. So that will result to 1, and then a multi-line comment is /*. This is multi, and really you don't need the end comment unless you're evaluating something, in which case you do. So */. So this is actually very familiar commenting to other scripting languages that comment the same way. Some comment with the £, which is what script commenting uses. But in the data viewer, it's // for single line, /*, // for multi-line. Okay, calculation delimiting, same sort of thing. You can calculation delimit, so a lot of times you'll see people that write their whole case statement in one line, like that. But if you want to do a better job, you can do this, return option tab. Option tab gives you this indentation. And then option tab again, false. And then option tab on the Mac, I think it's Alt or Shift tab on PC. Control tab, thank you. I'm not really a big PC user. So yeah, this gives you a much more easy to read thing. So if you're using a let statement or a while function or anything where it's going to be a lot, FileMaker will be happy if it's minified and there's no line breaks at all. But you can put in as many line breaks and tabs as you want, and it'll be great. All right. Okay, and lastly, emoji support. How many of you knew FileMaker's calculations support emoji? No? There's actually a lot of places in FileMaker that support emoji, but if you put that there, there's a little tiny owl there, trust me. But you can do things also like set your session identifier with emoji, or you can set your name as emoji, that type of thing. So emoji is supported in a bunch of different places, and that's all right. While I'm pulling up the next slide, question from over there. Still remember it? Oh. While he's doing that, I'm going to show you one more thing, which is app duplication. So I don't know if you knew this in FileMaker, but you can just take FileMaker Pro and copy and paste it, and you get a whole nother copy of FileMaker Pro that you can use separately and independently. So if you're ever doing something like you're doing a replace on like 1 million records, and you're like, man, I'm billing this client and I need to do something else, rather than logging into another computer, you can just duplicate FileMaker, and I think you can do it while it's open too, but I don't want to do that here if it crashes. But yeah, you can just create another FileMaker Pro, and you can do that as many times as you want with all the different versions. I believe that's only on Mac.
It is.
Yeah. There's questions first.
I just wanted to make the one comment with the if or case that if you have a situation where you really only have a binary situation, whether it's A or B, using if communicates that.
Yes.
So if you're not going to have further cases in the future, using if could specifically say this is a binary yes or no.
Yeah. There's also maybe better ways to do that in FileMaker now with like JSON booleans and JSON nulls being represented like that. But yeah, I see where you're going. All right. And over in here, you had a comment?
I just wanted to add that you can use the terminal to start multiple instances of the application without actually creating a duplicate of the binaries.
That's a good point. Yeah, so make that a comment for a merge request on the GitHub, and I'll edit for next time. All right, so we are demo files now. Demos. This one's non-distributable. This one is curled FileMaker. So this comes from Wim de Kort of Soliant. So you can grab this demo file, but basically what it allows you to do is take a curl request that you might get from, like this one's from ChatGPT, and you copy and paste the curl request into this file, and it parses it into all the different pieces for you. So it gives you the URL that you use in insert from URL. It gives you your curl options that you format and you put in a variable, and then yeah. And then if you are putting a payload of data together, this is what your JSON payload is supposed to look like. So this splits it all up nice for you. Files free, the link is in there, so go ahead and go grab it. Thank you, Wim de Kort. It's not the last demo I'll have of yours. Let me quit out. All right, where are we going to after this? Plate one. I'm gonna gloss over this next topic. If you're interested in this, go to the slide notes. There's a slide called environmental variables. I think this is a very important concept for especially advanced FileMaker developers to understand, especially as we start moving and maybe doing web development. So if you're doing web development, environmental variables are very common. It's like where you store your app keys and your API keys and those types of things. But I wrote a quick little white paper here about what types of environmental variables they are. If you want to implement this in FileMaker, usually on first window open, you set a global variable that's like $$ session, and you put a bunch of information in there, probably in JSON, and then you just have that information throughout your app. And what that lets you do is when you switch between like your dev environment and your production environment, hopefully you're doing that using the data migration utility. If not, that's another demo in here. You can switch your environmental variables between dev and production as well. So you're only changing those things in one place. It allows you to control that. Hopefully in the future we'll have better, more secure ways to do that out of the box, but yeah. All right, add-ons. This is another demo. We're gonna breeze through this one pretty quick if I can find it. The first thing in add-ons though is actually an add-on manager. This one's from Richard Carlton, and ooh, I didn't save it. Save the password, oh no. Unfortunately, I think, where is it, add-ons? Yeah, so I'll just show you a picture of what it is. So this is an add-on manager, and he's got a video. I've got my volume turned off, so I'm just gonna try to get a screenshot in here. It basically gives you a list of, it comes with like 24 add-ons, but you can add your own. And as you develop your own add-ons, you can also add them to here. And this gives you a way to, it compiles it and installs it. So you check off the boxes for which add-ons you want to install in your FileMaker Pro, and you press a button and it takes care of installing it all for you. So this one's from Richard런. It's called Wolfpack Add-on Manager. All right. Where was demo? This one is actually in here. So we're gonna breeze through a couple demos here, starting with flexible value list. I think he's here, Mal Verkstan. Maybe not in this room, but I think he's at the conference. But this one is a, this is an add-on for a functional value list, and of course you know how FileMaker value lists work. Why? Hold on, just a second. Let me try to click back in there. Okay, this one doesn't like to work well because of whatever's going on with my mouse. But what this should be doing is it has type ahead searching, so it'll filter the value list for you. There's also, you can use images in the value list. There's a bunch of cool things you can do with this, but my mouse is not working right now. There's a bunch of different settings, so you can like filter the value list. So it's like a virtual value list if you've done that, but like the next step beyond that. So apparently just don't implement it if you want to give a demo about it. Next one is a signature pad. It's got some setup instructions here, but it's pretty easy. You just drop it on the layout. There's This one's from Logic. You just sign, and there's a bunch of different buttons here, so you can very easily add signatures in. There's a charting one. This one I wasn't able to get to work. This one's from Chart.js, but this one's from Listerius, and I know some of you are in here, so maybe check your add-on and make sure it's still working for version 2023. But this one's supposed to be just an easy, you put in your table name, your field information, and then you have a couple different charts here, and it builds you a nice JS chart right in here. So I was trying to get that to work a little earlier today, and it was generating the HTML code, but it was never showing up in the web viewer, so I don't know. Then this one, Dave Wickstrom is here, so if you see him, buy him a beer for this one. This one's pretty cool. It's like an in-FileMaker version of like something like FM Perception or Inspector Pro, where you get a lot of information about all of your all of the metadata in your file. So this shows what accounts you have, and it gets this information as JSON for you. That one's probably pretty big because there's a lot of data in themes. Ooh, might have to kill that one. No, there it is. Yeah, tons of JSON there. So that one's also a free one, Scrutinizer Central, and he's got a good demo file that goes along with that. And then the last one we're going to do is PBS log. This is from Portage Bay, and basically it's a model for you to have a transaction log history, and it comes with these very nice looking layouts that you can change. But with the new transaction script steps, it's very easy to create like a transaction log and a script to create records in this table. So this add-on gives you those layouts for free, a few different layouts here, but a very nice UI design. So I wanted to include that in there. All right, sampling add-ons, easy DMU deployments. So this one will let Listerius redeem themselves. So this one is, again, from Listerius, and it is this file right here. So when the data migration utility first came out, a lot of people were very scared to use it because it was in the command line, and I don't want to do this, it'll mess up my file. So Listerius put together this very nice, easy to use GUI file where you can put in the data migration files in here, and you can put plugins in here. It's using MBS. I think also it's used base elements in the past. I forget which version. But then, yeah, you put in some settings, like this is my source file, this is my clone file, this is my target file, and you hit start migration, and you hit yes, and it takes care of your migration for you. And yes, I know, Christian, I'm sorry, this is not my normal work computer, but it runs the migration for you. And then at the end of it, it gives you a very nice detailed report about what went wrong, and what all it did, what all it moved. So that's very nice. This is also a free utility from Listerius, so thank them for that. Okay, what are we doing next? And dictation controls. Okay, so this is a demo that can go very wrong, so we'll see how it goes. But we had a use case where somebody was they had to use FileMaker only by their voice. Just pretend they didn't have hands. Their hands were inside of a body of an animal, a dead animal, doing an autopsy, so they have to dictate. So I want you to watch when this file opens up. You'll see some stuff happen, and you'll see that this is on now. So there's a microphone now, but I'm going to say go to sleep for a second. So start up, you'll see go to sleep. Maybe my microphone is not working because it's also plugged in. This will be a very short demo then. But on first window open, there's some Apple script that runs, and it automatically turns on voice control. That's this little widget down here in the right, which you can barely see at the bottom of the screen. And then also when you close this file, it turns it off. But the dictation is supposed to let us essentially use notes. So let me see if dictation is, oh no, I turned it off. Now wake up. Yeah, so here now I'm dictating into the field, and you can see it's showing up here, so that's good. There's also some verbal commands. So for the dictation, go to sleep is supposed to turn off that microphone, but for some reason, maybe it's because I'm in a different country and it thinks my localization has changed. But there's stuff like go to next field.
Field 1.
Go to next field. No?
Field 4. Field 3.
Well, anyways, so
Field 2.
obviously the voice feedback works. The voice feedback is just a quick Apple script. It's the say command. So say something in quotes, and it will. So this is just saying the name of the fields as you go to all the different fields. Let's see if this one works. Create a new case note. No. So it's supposed to create a portal record, but something's up with the microphone here and the voice controls. There's also text expansion,
Field 1.
which is just when you dictate something specific in the field, it will detect that and expand it into a larger chunk of text. So unfortunately, this one, although cool, if you really would like, if you're interested in dictation, come and find me before the end of the conference, and we'll figure that one out together. All right, so we're halfway through. So we're still going to try to. I'm probably going to skip a few things on this one and kind of jump through here. This one's the coffee menu. Get it? It's JavaScript. So here we have some web viewer frameworks. So web viewer frameworks are very important for us to use because it just saves us time. So the first one is JS and FM. Anybody taken Jeremy Brown's JavaScript course? Okay, so you're already familiar with this. But basically it allows you to, it gives you a starting point, but it also teaches you how to use tools like Visual Studio Code for developing things like your conference sessions. Like I developed this, and it teaches you how to do version control. So as you make changes, you can send those changes to GitHub and share them, that type of thing. So I'm just really on this one, I'm just going to show you other worthy libraries here. If you're an advanced JavaScript developer, there's Josh Willing-Halpern's promise library. A promise is like when JavaScript performs a FileMaker script, it wants to wait for something to be returned. So it says, FileMaker, will you do this thing for me? Will you make me a promise to do that? And then it waits for that thing to come back. So that's promise-based logic. There's also a data tables widget for JavaScript, and that last one down there is a huge collection of JavaScript playgrounds. So that's all I'm going to take on that one because we're already running short on time. Let's go over unlocking debug mode. This one is should be easy. I think this one was on the end of the notes here. So this terminal command here, unlocking debugger, what this does is you run this in your terminal, and if you're familiar with the website using the inspector, by default you can't use this inspector in FileMaker's web viewer. It's disabled. So this terminal command allows you to use this inspector inside of WebViewer so that you can check your work and you can console log stuff to make sure that your WebViewer script is running. So thanks to Beeswax for figuring that out, and it's just a simple terminal command to run. But WebViewer as a data processor, this is in the regular demo files. So JS data parser. All right. So why would you want to parse data in JS? So what I have here is a very simple script, and basically what I want it to do is take this text and count each individual unique word and how many times that word appears. And you can do that with FileMaker with a while function, but the while function still runs out of recursion steps, right? But JavaScript doesn't care so much about that, so you can do much larger objects. So this one, this is 538 words, so I'll hit this button, and it processes this. Oh, hold on, I need to load my web viewer first. So yeah, this refresh button, the parser is loaded, so I'll do that, and instantly it gives me a JSON array that has the all the unique words and the count of each word. So you would say, well, I can do a FileMaker while function for that, but now we're going to do 3,578 words. And now we're going to do 114,000 words. And you can see how fast it's going through these big sets. So what about 2 million words? Well, it's the same. It's 1, 2, 3, maybe less than 3 seconds of performance, and you can see all the word counts that are going. So using WebViewer as a data parser, this is just a very basic example, but it shows you how to send the data to the WebViewer and how to return that data to FileMaker. So the next one that was on my list, I believe, was the 5 basic JS techniques. This is another white paper. I'm just going to give you homework to read through this, but the most important thing you need to know is stringify. Why? Because your JSON data needs to be turned back into a string to send it to FileMaker. If you try to send your JSON data to FileMaker without using stringify, FileMaker will say, I have an object. And that's what it will say. It will say object. It doesn't know what to do with that object yet. It'd be a nice feature if it auto-typecasted for you, but no. So stringify your data, then that way you can send it back to FileMaker, but there's, how to do basic concatenation. It's things like, in FileMaker you know how to concatenate. Yeah, you use the ampersand, and you put stuff together and it concatenates. But how do you do that in JavaScript? There's 2 different ways. There's some basic operators in here, truthy methods for doing if this and that, and some array methods for dealing with data in arrays. So those are some basics that you can go through. And then this one, also non-distributable, but so how far can you take the web viewer? And if any of you are planning to go to CQDF next June, conference in Montreal, I'll be giving a robust demonstration of this. So this is a file we did, and this isn't web viewer. I'll go to the place that is. So we wanted to build a seamless experience where you could switch between FileMaker layouts and WebViewer layouts. So this is a FileMaker layout. You can tell because, well, I'm scrolling the body of the list view there. But if I go to here, this is a WebViewer layout. And you go in here and, yep, yeah, WebViewer, I see that. So the WebViewer lets us do stuff like this, which you can't do with FileMaker. You can't have folding rows. You can't have like subdivided columns. Well, you probably can, but it takes a lot of work, and it's much easier to do in HTML. So if you're interested in this type of stuff, maybe watch out for that session, because I'll actually be releasing a framework that's based on Vue.js that has the whole IDE integration. So basically it's one click from saving your work and having it appear in FileMaker. So that will come out later. That's why I'm not distributing that now. All right. We're chugging right along, so to speak. So let's go on to second plate, and this is another plate of demos that we're going to do, starting with log parsers. So the first log parser I'm going to do is I'm going to show you FM Rainbow Log, which is another Josh Willing Halpern one. So I'm going to go in, here's where my import log is. So I'm going to do cd space da, da. So I'm in my demo files here. Sorry, this is probably hard to see. So I'll do fmrl. So what Rainbow Log is it takes your import.log file and it digests it so that when you run this, so let me run something in here. Where is it? Log parser. So all I'm going to do in here is I'm just going to import one file. Import records file. I've got a customer's CSV file. This is like 1,000 or customers, and I'm going to say that this is just field names, and this is just a new table for customers. Okay, great, import. So while that happened, you saw this updated in the back. Now if I had errors, they would, you can fully customize this, the settings files in JSON. So all you do is customize the settings file if you want different colors or if you want things to stack differently. But if you work with a system where you're doing a ton of importing, this is actually really cool. And we do have a system that I use this for, so I helped give him some feedback. But it just gives you a log in an easy to digest format, especially if you're used to working in the command line, which fortunately I am. The other cool thing about this is it's written in Rust. Anybody program in Rust? No, we haven't gotten there yet. We will. If you like Python now, try Rust. Very fun, but not going to happen in this session. So next is going to be must-have developer utilities, and this is probably stuff you've already seen before. So obviously the plugin everybody has to have, Monkey Bread. Thank you, Christian. I gave him candy to buy him off, so he keeps giving us good stuff in the free version. But one thing that, so some of the things that does is it lets you do searching. Let me open up a different file again so I can show you. Let's do our Scratch file from before. Oh, we didn't do scripting tips before, did we? Oh, shoot. Well, we might have to come back for this later. So Monkey Bread gives you this search box so that you can search for things like nested, and it automatically highlights the row that it's on for you. And this is, again, this is in the free version. If you look up here, it tells me that I'm free licensed. So if you don't have Monkey Bread and you haven't talked to Christian, whose table is right outside the room here, it's definitely worth it. I mean, 8,000 plugin functions or something. So this is like in the must-have library. It changes every day, so I don't know. So honorable mentions, of course. Base Elements, of course, open source, has a number of good functions. We use it as a server-side plugin, mostly for moving files around very easily, and it has an export field contents thing, which export field contents is still not compatible with the server, so you need to use a plugin to get contents out on disk. Script Master is a plugin that lets you write your own plugins. It's based in Java, and it runs Java in Groovy. But at the end of it, you can basically build your own .fm plugin file out of it. So you make your own plugins. So that's pretty cool. And Beeswax, Bbox is I believe, still a Mac-only plugin, but it lets you run scripts like Python scripts or PHP scripts and like system-level scripts. It lets you run that from inside of FileMaker. All right, database report auditing, FM Perception is at the top of my list as a developer, and I'm saying that specifically as a developer because my honorable mentions here, I'll mention that in a second. But FM Perception, basically you take your DDR, you do your new DDR browser. I'm going to find, where was it, under demos or sample DDR, there we go. So you take your summary file, and this is a DDR of the tips and tricks. Yes. So let's say something I want to find text search, and now I have a free text search of everything in my FileMaker file. So if I want to find, truthy was a word I used a lot. So it tells me exactly where in my file that text field appeared. So I've used this recently. I used it. We were converting somebody's popovers in WebDirect to card window. So I used FM Perception to give me a list of every single popover in the system. And then I quoted a very high number to convert them all. Well, not, because I was using modular code. Yep.
Do you have a loop just at the unreferenced object?
There won't really be any here because this is a new file. Well, I guess there is. So unreferenced objects is stuff that's maybe not being used. So this will, we use this as well. Actually, the best thing in here is the indirection sources report. This tells you like every type of thing where you might have indirection, like if you change the field name, suddenly something breaks. We use this to, if we inherit a file and somebody went crazy with execute SQL, but all the SQL's hard-coded, we use it for that type of stuff. So, but the thing that has always been true about FM perception that's better is everything's instantaneous. And you can use Monkey Bread to save a DDR with a script. Monkey Bread has a plugin that does that on the Mac. So you can kind of semi-automate this so that it exports and automatically opens FM perception. But yeah, so this is the great developer tool, but I would never show this to a customer. And that goes back to my honorable mentions here of both Inspector Pro and Base Elements. Base Elements and Inspector Pro make very nice looking reports that I can give to the customer to tell them how broken their database is. And that turns into business for us, so that's great. But FM Perception, it has a report card, but it's not the best, right? So, but Dave knows that, and he's working with a UI designer on that, actually. All right, what else do we got here? Other utilities that I use. I'm just gonna mention these. You can go check them out on your own. CyberDuck, it's like a FTP program, but it also allows you to connect to AWS S3, so you can just use it like you would use FTP. So if you're doing a lot of integration work with AWS S3, that's good. Postman, you can use it as a testing library. Basically, it's great. It has, let's see if I'm still logged into it. The new version is all online. You can still get the desktop client, but I don't really use it anymore. But what this allows us to do is do for like AWS EC2, and I want to search collections, and I'm going to pull this collection up, and I have now all of this API documentation here where I can just go in and go here, and this pulls that up and shows me what I need to do. And then when I'm ready, I can get sample code for curl. And then I take this into that Soliant tool I showed you before, and I just copy this and paste it, and it gives it for me in FileMaker. So this is why it's important to use external tools like Postman. Then Figma. Figma is it's basically the industry standard for layout design. Like 6 years ago it was Pencil, before that it was SwordSoft, or there's been a few, but now Figma seems to be the one that both the design industry has latched onto and FileMaker is latching onto. So there's a bunch more down here, and I wish I had more than an hour to show you all. So stuff like this browser extension, Wapalizer, shows you what technology a website is based on. So if you want to try to copy somebody's website or learn about new JavaScript libraries, that will show you that. So go check out all of these other utilities down here. And I know I'm reaching last 10 minutes here, so I gotta maybe hurry up a little bit. So teleporting found sets and JSONovate data. I might skip the AWS integration examples. It's not really a demo. So let's do teleporting found sets. This is a technique. It's pretty slick. This is another Soliant thank you to Wim de Court. And what this does is it uses a very interesting technique, and this is one of those things where it's just how FileMaker works. But I have two table occurrences here based on the same table. There's the fruit and fruit parking. So it's the same table, it's the fruit table. So this interface is on fruit, so I'll find on this interface and I'll say, I want to find for Belgium, and I have this found set of 32, and I want to say park my set. So what happens here is I used go to related records, but I said go to related records of the other table occurrence using that layout. So not this one, which is based on the first table occurrence. And what that does is it puts that found set into the context of that other table occurrence. So I can go back now, and now I'm going to modify this. I'm going to say, okay, Luxembourg. Okay, there's some for Luxembourg. So I've made some changes now to my found set, and now I want to restore that parked set. So you can see I have 19 from Luxembourg. It's going to say, okay. It's going to unpark my found set of 32 records, and it's going to restore that found set here so that I can I can send those to different places temporarily while the user does some stuff. And if I want to have like a back button to go back to your one previous found set, it's very easy to do with this technique. So it's a weird way of how FileMaker works. Check out the demo file. It's linked with a blog post in the materials here. All right, and then the last demo, because I want to have some time for questions and maybe breeze through, is JSONified data. So this one's from Kevin Frank, I believe. And what this is, I mean, you can probably understand from looking at it. It's virtual portals on the left and JSON data on the right. So those are not like real records, but if I make changes to this stuff over here, like I check all this, it's instantly updating all that over there. It's really small, so sorry, but you can see it's kind of checking off the things in that first array. So it's updating this JSON object. So this is a lot how web systems like Vue.js and stuff work. You're making changes, and as you're making changes, it's emitting those changes to your JSON data model. So this allows you to do that with portals. It's a model for doing that. And it's stuff you're all familiar with. It's scripting, script triggers, set field, set selection, go back, all that kind of stuff. So the demo file, there's a link to that to get that demo file as well. All right, so let me wrap up with AWS notes. So that was over here. Is anybody's brain just like, yeah. First up, Richard Carlton again has 3 good examples. The one which I'm surprised he gives away for free is upload container data to S3. For those of you that have files that are 60 gigabytes now or 100 gigabytes because it's all container data, think about switching to a CDN for S3, and now there's a lot of benefits to switching to that, but that file gives you everything you need for free. He's also got OCR and data, so you can send a PDF or a Word document and it turns it into text, and transcribing audio files through AWS, so you can send it an audio file, it gives you the transcription back. This thing I do want to talk about. Oh man, this is so cool. I wish I had more time. So this is an architecture model. Was anybody at Berlin, FMP Berlin? I was not there, but I saw this blog post soon after, and I just resized that out so you can't see it. Sorry, let me try to get that back in there. But what this is it's an architecture model for using AWS services. So for those of us that struggle with systems where we're importing, thousands of records per week to deal with that data, or millions of records a month, what this architecture example is using, and you can read the blog post for this, but it's using AWS Athena and AWS S3. And what AWS Athena allows you to do is it allows you to make like a SQL-like query, and it will search contents of your CSV files. So if you export, if you take all of your data from like 2023, 12, 15, like the 15th of December 2023, you export all that data to CSV, you upload that CSV file to AWS S3, and then Athena can now query that CSV data so that you can do quick finds and API-based finds on that data. So you no longer need to store that data in FileMaker. So if you have a table in FileMaker, I mean, the record limit theoretically, I think, 64 quadrillion records. If you have that much data in your table, think about this because it'll make performance a lot better. But if you can cache archival data this way and still be able to query it from FileMaker, then that alleviates some of the stress of having to talk to your customer about like, okay, we can copy this FileMaker file and put it over here, but you won't have access to it. This is a way for you to have access to it. And it's very cheap, and it's also serverless, so you don't have to pay for resources that are running 24/7. You only pay for the storage space for your S3 files, which is it's CSV data, so it's not all that good. If you have container contents, you can also put container contents in S3. You can search the metadata for those container contents, that type of thing. Ooh, all right. I told you I was going to blast you with a lot of information. So that was it. So where do we go from here? I've got a couple minutes for questions. That is my real business email address, so feel free to use it. I have business cards right here. Feel free to take one. Feel free to continue the conversation on GitHub. Like I mentioned, it's just an open library. If you want to use these resources for your user groups, or if you want me to help you present, or if you want a deep dive conversation with me on like a Zoom call to explain how any of this works, I've spent 40, 50 hours putting this together to try to fit it all in one, and it almost works. We're at 55, so they told us save 15 minutes for questions, but no, I got 5. All right. Thank you very much, everybody. Oh, no. Before questions, before everybody goes, please take these. If you didn't get enough chocolate in the fika breaks, these are from my local hometown. I'm from Ohio in the USA. It's a very boring place, but our state tree is the Buckeye tree, and this is candy. If you're allergic to peanuts, stay away from it. It's peanut butter and chocolate, but please take some, share them with your group. I'm not taking these home, so they'll be here. Please help yourself, and thank you very much. We'll do questions now. Raise your hand. We have a microphone for questions. Yes, or did you ask them all in the session? One in the back.
Hello. I would just like to confirm that the Chart.js add-on from Mysterious still works in FileMaker 2023. Just tried it. If you want, we can check it together.
Maybe.
So your demo file works.
Yes,
Okay.
I'll fix it and upload it so it does work. Yeah.
All right.
Anybody else? Oh, yeah. Yeah, we have 4 minutes left. Should I do scripting tips? All right. So everybody already started leaving, but I don't know if you can read it. So scripting tips, hang around for a little bonus content here. This is how I do, like, if I have JSON coming from another source or CSV or something, if I have a lot of text I need to get into a variable, I use insert text. And the reason why I use that is because JSON has a whole heck of a lot of quotes in it. And if you use set variable, you have to put a backslash before all the quotes. But if you use insert text, you don't have to do that. And then if you want to make it pretty, you just do JSON format elements after that. And yeah, easy to do. All right, perform finds. How many people perform finds this way? Where you go to a layout and you enter find mode and you subfield. Don't do that anymore. So just switch the first 2 steps, because if you enter find mode before go to layout, the layout won't try to load any data when you get there before you go to find mode. So if you go to the layout and you have a summary, maybe it'll start trying to evaluate the summary before it goes into find mode. So it's much better to do this, enter find mode, go to layout, set field, perform find. It's also better to enter find mode, set field, and perform find. I will really fight somebody on this if they say they're putting all of their find requests inside of perform find or inside of constraint find. No, do this so it's easy to read. Other developers will thank you later when you retire. That caused a lot of questions, so no, we're maybe getting
Yeah,
well,
maybe it's like this, that your script triggers are not fired when you go first to find mode and then change layout.
correct.
You just mention it.
Yeah. So there's numerous. If I'm going to find mode to do a find, I don't want to do triggers. So, yeah.
Another bonus of the compact form is that it doesn't break if you're in a record which can't be committed. If you're in a record which can't be committed because it's got data which isn't valid, which you can get if some script somewhere has done a commit and ignored validation, if that managed to make that record illegal, then you can't maybe go into find mode, and then if you don't go into find mode, your set field kills data.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. Okay. So if while he was talking about that, I was showing you multi-line commenting. It's option return, and you can add a bunch of lines to your comments there. So a lot of people I see just do 1 line, 1 comment and stuff, and I kind of like it this way because it helps you debug things if you don't have a bunch of extra row numbers that you don't need.
Is it not only for Mac?
It's option return on the Mac, so I was assuming that control or shift doesn't work on Windows? Or it doesn't show? Oh, okay. This one doesn't work, I don't know why. I swear in MBS at one point of time it introduced code folding, so there was a little arrow right here on the line number.
You have to add another if in the if, and then I think it works. Yeah, there it is. You have to click that. You have to click, yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry, I did it. Yeah. I was looking on the row number. So this is a Monkey Bread plugin feature, but it works in the free version, code folding. So that's pretty cool. So this one is also another one I will fight you on. For those of you that use go to record next, exit after last on. Sorry, that's the wrong way, because every time it happens, it throws error 101. Next record is not found. It can't go to the next record, so it exits the loop. So the proper way is to make sure you exit the loop beforehand. And if you use something as simple as get record numbers greater than or equal to, get the greater than or equal to is a PHP thing left over. You can use equal to if you want to. It's fine. But you want to do get found count there. Just make sure your found count doesn't change, and just make sure you put go to record after the exit loop step. All right, some stuff here. Using the, this is straight out of the documentation for execute FileMaker Data API, so since we're already over the hour now, I won't go into this, but I use this almost exclusively now. Anytime I need a record as JSON, I'm using execute data API. Why? Because it's much faster and I don't have to write JSON set element and then put 40 things into one JSON set element. So just use execute data API. It's actually, I don't know if Clay's here, but isn't it faster than using JSON set element if you use get data API to get like a record as JSON? Maybe. It might be faster on like arrays of data.
Yeah, probably. The usual answer is yes.
It depends, yeah. So like everything else with FileMaker, it depends. So yeah, shortcut for a new comment. For those of you that don't know, shift 3, shift pound sign is shortcut for a new comment line. And then abbreviation of autocomplete, I can just type in SV, and it knows that if I type in SV, I want set variable. So that saves you a lot of keystrokes, and it works for execute data. Maybe it didn't work for that one, but it works for a lot of these. Add account, range all windows. Yeah, so you can just type the not camel case. Yeah, the first characters of each word, and it auto-completes those scripts up for you. So, all right, now we're really done, and now we're really over time. So if you have anything else to discuss, please come up. And I don't know that anybody took any of these, so please come and take the chocolate as well. Thank you very much, everybody.